All right, so welcome back. Here to update you guys on kind of something that threw us off track that we were not ready for. We have been in the midst of getting a video out for you guys, kind of just documenting, you know what I mean, just like we always do. But we had an unfortunate situation take place here at the kennel. The male puppy, the only male, Apollo, that was supposed to go to Cincinnati, Ohio, passed away on Wednesday. Today is Friday, so technically about 36 hours ago, we lost one of our puppies. So Wednesday morning, everybody's up, getting ready to start their day. Kids are getting ready to go to basketball in the morning. The wife is getting ready to transport everybody there. We get up, everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and reach into the pen to pick up Apollo, because I was getting ready to bottle feed him so he can get a little bit more nourishment. I reach in and grab him, getting ready to bottle feed him. And when I picked him up, I noticed that I had some type of clear oozing on my hand, a little bit of blood, and so I was kind of thrown off a little bit. So I turned him around thinking it was coming from his mouth. And as I turned him around, I noticed that he had a gash on his elbow. Well, at the time, I was thinking like, man, what happened to him? Because it looks like something had punctured it. Trying to figure out what was going on. I was just confused. Kind of wiped it off a little bit. Kind of checked out his demeanor. Looked to see if there are any bones sticking out. Of course, couldn't see it. And so now kind of panic mode is kicking in just because I don't know what happened and why. I put him back in the pen to see if he would drink, make sure he has his normal behaviors. And when I did that, you know, he got on Bluebell and he went to work eating. And so, you know, everything looked good. He was using the actual arm that had the gash in it. I didn't think anything was too wrong with him, but I did not want to take a chance on an infection. And so because of that, went ahead and made an emergency trip to the veterinarian where they could kind of tell us what was going on and see if there would happen to be a broken bone. Get to the vet, and he turns out to be too small or too young to actually do an x-ray that'll be, what am I looking for? That'll be beneficial for us, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, they said they're not gonna do the x-ray, but they're gonna send us home with some antibiotics because they don't want him to get an infection, or in case he had an abscess, you know what I'm saying, that may have been punctured or whatnot. They didn't want anything to travel in the body. And so they gave us the antibiotics. You know, I did ask the vet, how does he look? Do you think he's gonna be okay? And he said, yeah. He said, as long as he's going home, eating and everything like that, everything should be good. Make sure we give 2 doses of antibiotics twice a day for 2 weeks. You know, we'll set up an appointment to follow up in 2 weeks as well. And, you know, we were thinking all was gonna be good. So on the trip home, little Apollo's eating. He seems to be doing all right. You know, he's not doing any extra crying or whimpering, you know, anything that's saying that he's in pain. And so, you know, we thought all arrows were pointing in the right direction. We get home, he's still eating. We finally get some antibiotics in him and everything's good. And we start shooting our video about 3 hours later because he was doing so well. He was eating off of the bottle. He was eating off of Bell. So we're like, okay, cool. We'll be able to make the video updating you guys about the dew claws and tails. And he was going to be the last puppy to be put on the next dreamOnkennels video. And so I picked him up and got to explaining and showing his tail, his dew claws and everything. But the little fella just wasn't feeling good. And that's when all the crying and whimpering for continuous time started to happen. It just felt like he could never really get comfortable. He was acting so far away from his normal self and being sleepy and quiet and, you know, to himself all the time. Now he was making noises. If his not brothers, but if his sisters came to lay on him to keep each other warm and stuff like that, he was hollering and screaming. And you could tell that something was really wrong. Got to making sure he was warm, wrapped him up in a blanket and everything, kind of kept a close eye on him. And we weighed him to make sure that he was maintaining his weight, and everything was still looking good, but the only thing was he wouldn't eat at this point. And so, you know, started researching more and more, and it is common for dogs that are injured, especially if they have lacerations or injuries to muscles or tendons, that they usually sleep, because that's sleep time affords them to be able to get healthy a little bit faster. And so, just like let nature take its course, lay down, rest, kind of recover. But it was concerning that he was not drinking from the bottle anymore and he wasn't eating from Bell. So a few hours go by, still not getting him to eat, but you can see him moving around. He was actually using the leg, but he was also still doing a lot of whining and crying. It just seemed like he couldn't get quite comfortable. So just kind of letting him rest, not messing with him anymore, not agitating the situation any further. It's about 10:30 at night at this point. And so people are kind of settling down. Me and the wife are in the back watching TV, about to doze off ourselves. And I know that they needed to be fed by Bill at least one more time before he went to sleep. And so I came into the living room to the pen where he was located. And I was getting ready to try to bottle feed him or put him with Bill. And that's kind of when everything, went downhill. Came in and he looked like he was asleep like normal. And my daughter and I were both kind of looking like, man, is he moving? I don't see his stomach or anything like that. And so as I got closer, I kind of nudged him like, hey, what's up, little dude? Nudged him and he didn't move. So my daughter's like, man, he's sleeping very hard. And I'm like, nah, I think Apollo might have passed away, baby. And she's like, no, but he's still like sleeping real hard, right? And I'm like, nah, baby, I think he's gone. And she was like, yeah, but he's just sleeping real hard, right? And I'm like, nah. And so I go to the room, tell the wife, hey, I think Apollo didn't make it. Came back into the living room because it was like such a shock and turned downhill so fast. I went ahead and picked him up, but when I picked him up, you could tell he was lifeless. And then, of course, because he had passed away, his bowels had loosened. And so, he started urinating on my arm. And that was kind of like the telltale sign that, there was no coming back from there. And so during the state of shock, had to get a shovel at about 11:30 at night. And we had to go ahead and bury the little fella. And it was a emotional time. The kids had already started naming the puppies and starting to get real attached to the puppies like they always do. And so, Kayla had a little bit of time as she sat out with me and we buried him that night. It was kind of sad, anytime you have one of the puppies that are deceased, you kind of feel like it's your fault. Most of our unfortunate situations with puppies that don't make it, they have been like stillborn or like already on the verge of dying. And so it's kind of like that built-in excuse, like, it was nothing we could do. But with Apollo making it to 2.5 weeks, it was kind of like so sudden, you know what I mean? And you kind of point to what you could have done, what you could have noticed, what you could have prevented. And, just rewinding things back over and over and over. I really don't know what we could have done more. I just think it was the little fella's time to go. But it's definitely questions about, could anything have been done better? Could we have noticed something earlier? Still don't know exactly how he got the laceration. My guess is probably Bell's nail could have done it because he was so fragile, or maybe her trying to pick him up in her mouth, maybe one of her fangs could have got to him, but nobody's 100%. The only thing that we do know is that Bell is a little bit rough with the puppies. Bell really does have only the strong survive type mothering. And so, she's rough with him and stuff like that. And the accident could have happened while we were asleep. The wound seemed to be very fresh when I first noticed it. So, there wasn't too much time that we could have spent, thinking about how we could have prevented the injury. It was just it seemed like it took a long time for it to happen, but it happened so fast. If you can understand what I'm saying.
It could have also been the antibiotics. Like, we don't really know. He had a couple of choices between this antibiotic or the other one, and the vet was concerned about one of the antibiotics, so he went with the one he gave, but it really seemed like he started going downhill after receiving the antibiotics.
And it could have been too much
and he
for him.
He had a second dose as well, so there's a lot of factors. You never know, but we'll have the experience for next time.
And it seemed like the antibiotic was working because he was still eating. The area had dried up, you know what I mean, which the antibiotic is supposed to do. And they said they didn't want to wrap it. They wanted that stuff to leak out, you know what I mean? So, I'm with you. You know, I don't know if it's an antibiotic. I don't know if it, you know, I know it was already written and it had to happen. But, you know, just trying to make a checklist of things that we maybe could have done differently. And I just don't know, because once upon a time, during that process, we thought that we were going to lose a little bit. Biddy, she was the runt. She was so small. Apollo was bigger than her. And then in a day's time, boom, everything switched up. But one thing that has made the situation better, though, because it's like after you have a death of a puppy, you know, you're trying to get over that. And then the next thing you got to do is make the phone call to the family that was excited about having the puppy, and let them know that he or she didn't make it. So this being the first time we've had this happen, you know, it was like thinking about what you're going to say to the customers. You know, they've already expressed that they were very excited. You know, they had already come up with a name. They named him Apollo from the movie Creed. So it's like, man, and then this particular family has been waiting over 2 years from a puppy from us. My main man, Gary Logan in Cincinnati, Ohio. I mean, man, he's the best person you can ask for in this situation because he was so understanding, and he's been so understanding throughout this whole journey and process. They've been supposed to get a puppy for Bluebell for over 2 years now, and they were waiting patiently when she tore her ACL, and we didn't get a heat. Well, we didn't get a tie on that heat. They wanted a male puppy. We only had one male in this particular litter. They were looking for a fawn. He was a brindle. But when they got pictures of him, they fell in love with him. And so they were going to get Apollo, the little classic brindle, you know what I mean? And so I had to call and talk to him, but the conversation was great, totally understanding, totally uplifting. You couldn't ask for a better customer. And I mean, he's so sold on dreamOnkennels. They're going to continue to wait to get their male puppy from Bill or Dream. And I mean, man, you just couldn't ask for a better family to go through a situation like this, because they made the burden of possibly disappointing customers. It feels like that burden was lifted. So shout out to them, to the Logan family in Cincinnati, Ohio. We appreciate y'all. And I promise you, man, y'all gonna get the puppy that satisfies y'all. Y'all gonna get the puppy that's for y'all. But we appreciate y'all waiting and being patient. I couldn't go on with this video without making that known. So we got the hard part out the way. We lost Apollo. But to end on a good note, we are getting ready to introduce you guys to the rest of the litter. They're getting big, eyes are open, they're walking around, they're growling, they're scratching, they're barking, they have attitude, they have personalities, and they are some pretty, pretty puppies. I mean, Boss and Bill did their thing with this litter. The colors are fantastic. The coats are already looking good. I posted some stuff on the internet already. On Instagram, I'd already been putting how good the coats and stuff look. But you guys are getting ready to see what the tails look like, dew claws look like, getting ready to see the personalities and stuff. And we have names for all three of the puppies that remain. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and be ready for the next video that's coming up. We appreciate you guys. And until then, peace.
Okay, this is Raven. That's right. Okay. This is Raven, and she is 2.5 weeks old, I think. And we named her Raven because I think it was because of the black on her coat. Because I was gonna name her Oreo, but then I was like, no, I want to wait for a boy. So I decided with Raven, because she looks like a raven, and like the black on her coat made her like fit the name. You know what I mean? So this is Raven. Okay, it's okay. This is Biddy. I named her Biddy because of how small she was when like when she first came out, and she still is small, so we're gonna keep her name as Biddy.
This is Whitney. This is Nicholas, my cousin. And we named her Whitney because she's a drama queen and a diva. It was either going to be Whitney or Mariah or something like that because she's really vocal. And we might have a video, but she howls and she causes a lot of chaos and noise. So we named her Whitney after Whitney Houston.